Shalom, everybody. Welcome back. We have insights in the Parsha of the week, Parshat Terumah, based on the teachings of Rabbi Nachman and Rav Nosson. And just a friendly reminder, if these classes are inspiring you and enlightening you, please share them onto your status and whatever other means you could. In this week's Parsha, Terumah, it's a very big, and we know it's big from the Zohar on this week's Parsha. The Zohar is one big fat book just on the Parsha, because the idea of the construction of the Tabernacle is basically the construction of the Maaseh Bereshit, of the creation. It's reflected in all the various components of the Tabernacle, the menorah, the showbread table, the altar, the incense altar, the Holy of Holies, the Ark, the Krashim, the Amudim, everything parallels the creation. It's very, very deep and very powerful, and a lot of depth inside. In this week's Parsha, we have the section dealing with the Krashim. The Krashim are the wooden beams coated with gold that form the actual shell of the tabernacle. Okay? So the Pasuk says, this is in the fourth aliyah of the Parsha. So we're talking about chapter 26, verse 15, the beginning of Revi'i. So Hashem commands Moshe the following: Ve'asita et hakerashim lamishkan. Okay, and you should make the krashim, the wooden pillars, if you want to call them, for the mishkan, to be the mishkan. How do you make the krashim, the walls, the pillars of the mishkan? Atzei shitim omdim. Wood. What type of a wood? A wood called shita. It's a type of, there's obviously many different opinions what exactly it is. It's a type of erez. Erez is a type of an erez tree, how you can translate it. There's so many translations. It's a type of a cedar tree, okay? And the verse says, Atze shitim omdim, standing. Pillars of wood, these beams of wood of this cedar tree called shitim, but standing. Standing as opposed to what? As opposed to them being lined up like logs, one on top of the other. They should be standing erect, one next to the other, okay? So Rashi points out from the word vasita et hakerashim, and you should make the beams. It could say, the verse could have read vasita krashim la mishkan, and you should make beams for the mishkan. I understand the idea. Why does it go out of its way to say vasita et hakerashim, and you should make the, as if the famous the of Hey Yediah, it's called in Torah terminology, when there's a hey, something that's known. So what's known? What the beams? So Rashi points out these are specific beams of cedar wood. What are they? It was what Yaakov Avinu ordered and commanded his sons when they left the land of Israel to go down into Egypt. So he told his sons, take with us, let's take cedar beams. So he went to Beersheba, the Midrash says, in order to cut cedar beams of trees that Avram Avinu planted. If you recall, it says earlier in Parshat Vayera, Vayita Eshel, that Avram Avinu opened a big Hachnasat Orchim guest house with free food and lodging and everything. And Avram Avinu, for the decoration of the area, planted, it so to speak, he planted beams, cedar trees. So Yaakov, when going down to Egypt, he went to Beersheba to cut down these trees in order to be used eventually for the Mishkan. He foresaw all of this, Yaakov Avinu, with divine prophecy. Okay, so and he went down quickly, had them planted in Egypt. So there was uprooted from Israel, from Beersheba, planted in Egypt, so that when the Jews left Egypt, already before, and Yaakov Avinu commanded his descendants, he said, when you leave Egypt to go back to the Holy Land, don't forget to cut these cedar trees that we planted, that we took, in order to be for the Mishkan. Rashi says all this, okay? So now, there was an inyan that he was mizarez. The Rashi brings down, you know what, let's see it inside Rashi so you can see it for yourself, okay? Yaakov Avinu nata arazim b'Mitzrayim. Yaakov Avinu planted cedar trees in Egypt, ukeshemet, and when he's about to leave the world, tziva lebanav la'alotam imahem keshietzu miMitzrayim. He ordered his sons to take these cedar trees that he planted in Egypt with them when they leave Egypt. Va'amar lahem, and he told his sons, Yaakov Avinu, she'atid HaKadosh Baruch Hu letzavot otan la'asot mishkan bamidbar, that in time to come, in the future, Hashem, blessed be He, is going to command the Jewish people, His descendants, to make a tabernacle in the desert, me'atzei shitim, using cedar beams. As re'u sheyu mezumanim be'etchem. So see to it that these cedar beams should be prepared and ready in your hands. Okay, so that's the point of ha-krashim. Which krashim, which beams? Those which are already set aside by Yaakov Avinu. Okay, so Rashi continues, quoting a poem recited by some on Yom Tov, the first day of Yom Tov of Pesach. Hu she'asad ha-bavli. This is as the Paitan, the poet, the poem maker of religious poetry we're talking about. He wrote in the piyut that's recited on the first day of Pesach, and this is the wording. It's a very difficult wording, the piyutim, and it requires study to understand them. But Rashi is quoting it as a proof to what he's saying here. Tas mata mezorazim. Tas can mean like long, straight, flat cedar beams, but also tas means like tisa, to fly. They flew mata mezorazim. They flew fast to leave Egypt. The planting of the mezorazim. Yaakov Avinu was mizarez. He sped speedily to plant them, because we didn't say this point. Yaakov, if you remember, when Yosef revealed himself to the brothers, to the sons of Yaakov, he said, "Now go quickly. Tell my father, come maher, come fast to Egypt." He stressed fast, and the Midrash says, "What's this fast? To come to plant speedily the cedar trees that have to be planted here for the Mishkan." We need the speed. It's an amazing thing here. We need the speed for the planting of the cedar trees in Egypt. Speed is needed. So Yaakov speedily went to Beersheba, cut down the trees, unplanted them, replanted them when he went down to Egypt. And when the Jews left, they also speedily, because like the Paitan says, Mezorazim, they were quick. And Yaakov told his sons, have them ready and be quick with them. The whole work around the cedar trees was quick. Fast to uproot them, fast to replant them in Egypt, and fast to uproot them and bring them when they left Egypt to the desert to make the tabernacle on the way to Eretz Yisrael. Okay? So he continues, Tas matam bezorazim, korot batenu arazim. So like we said, Tas, they flew like as very fast, the plantings of the mezorazim, those who were quick to do them. And eventually they became korot, the korot, the pillars, korot batenu arazim, for the house, our house, which is the tabernacle, made of cedar. Okay? And she explains now, shenizdarzu, they were quick, Yaakov and his sons and his descendants, liyot muchanim be'adam mikodem lachem. He was mizdarez, that they should be ready beforehand. So the question is, why Yaakov Avinu, of all the things in the tabernacle, you're so concerned of the beams? There's also the ark, there's also the menorah, there's also the shulchan. Why not prepare gold maybe or some other items? Why specifically the walls of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle? Okay, you chose dafka this thing, and what's this inyan of being so quick? The Midrash says he went down quickly to Beersheba, uprooted them quickly, planted them quickly, and also when they left, to make sure it was done quickly. Why this quickness? Okay, there's questions here. So to understand, we will gain the depth and perspective from Rabbi Nachman's Likutey Moharan. Again, amazing lesson 24, which is just so amazing. Okay, in lesson 24, Rabbi Nachman says two things. He says by doing a mitzvah besimcha, the simcha, the joy in doing a mitzvah, causes the mitzvah to gain momentum, movement, and this momentum which is like fast movement, gets the whole creation to wake up and come back to Hashem. And when this happens, blessing is activated, bracha comes down to the world. However, the main bracha that a person should strive to receive when bracha is activated is the blessing of the intellect, of knowledge of Hashem. However, we all know that a person who just is after the intellect of the Torah, and there's a lot of intellect out there, we don't doubt that at all, but the thing is that as much as you are pursuing intellect of the Torah, you join it with emuna, meaning you always know as much as you know. There's so much more that you don't know. And the thing is, the more you know Torah, the more you realize how much you don't know, and you have no other alternative than to rely on faith and emuna to continue forward. And Rabbi Nachman teaches this joining of faith, emuna, and intellect together. They allow for the presence of a thing called the keter. The keter is a wall separating the whole creation from Hashem. Hashem is called the Infinite One, the Infinite Light, the light of the Infinite One. There's a barrier between Hashem and the creation, and that's called the keter. This keter is made when a Jew, through doing his mitzvot besimcha, he creates this combination of sechel, the blessing of the sechel, the intellect of the Torah, and emunah together. This allows the keter. And how does the keter work? The keter, when a person now reaches this high level, which means now the next level above him is perceiving Hashem, so to speak, the infinite light. And because a person is finite, and he cannot in a finite existence perceive the infinite light, so what the keter does, it bounces back a person, forcing him to stand and wait. He's pushed back from the momentum that the mitzvah caused him to go up and up and up and up and up. He's now forced to stand. And this standing and waiting process, hamten, Rabbi Nachman teaches in this lesson that keter is like the word katar in the verse in Eov, where Elihu says to Eov, katar li ze'er, wait for me a moment, and I'll answer, wait, katar. It's in Aramaic, not in Hebrew. So katar, keter, Rabbi Nachman says they're connected. Waiting, it means to stand. When you stand and wait, you build vessels that within these vessels, even though you are in a finite existence, you can perceive in a flashing experience the infinite light. So even though you're finite, you have a light of the infinite light shining into you. Two opposites. Finite, perceiving infinite. How? By being bounced back and maintaining that bounce, not crashing, not being broken because of it, being happy and positive. This allows you to perceive the infinite light. Okay? In our context, okay, the amudim, the mishkan, the whole mishkan, we call it, the verse itself says, Vasita hakrashim la mishkan. The essence of the tabernacle was the walls. Because without the walls, the shell of the tabernacle, what value is the ark? What value is the menorah? If there's no privacy, if there's no constriction, there's no wall, there's no separation, you can't bring light down to penetrate and do. In order for there to be activity of a divine light, you need a tzimtzum, a constriction, a wall. That's why halacha says, ideally, you should not daven out in the field on a beach. You need like a type of a wall. You need a surrounding, a mechitza, in order to daven, because the mechitza, or a type of wall, a construction, a shell, allows for the light to come down. It's a tzimtzum that allows the light to come down, as opposed to just davening like that, open in a minyan. We're not talking about private, personal hitbod. We're talking about like a minyan, where you have a quorum of people to draw down the kedusha, to say kaddish and kedusha. All that, you need a building. You need a wall, a type of a section, a mechitza, something like that. So too, the mishkan, the main calling of the mishkan is the amudim. The amudim are the essence of the mishkan. Yaakov Avinu, he's so associated with these amudim. Okay? It says something amazing. If you remember in the Parsha, that besides the amudim, there were what's called brichim. There were long poles of wood, okay? Each side of the tabernacle, 1, 2, 3. They each had 5 beams, okay? 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and 1 long one in the middle. And the middle one's called the Briach HaTichon. The 2 on the top, the 2 on the bottom were on the external part of the walls of the krashim after they were coated with gold, okay? They had now attached the outside types of like little loops, rings covered with gold, and in them they would put in the 4 beams of wood. So when they were inside, the beams of wood were not covered with gold; they were wooden. But once put into the rings with the gold coating, it appeared that the whole beam of wood is covered entirely with gold. So the 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom were outside of the beam. There was one beam that went inside the wall. It's called the Briach HaTichon. the Midrash says something unbelievable, and it's super duper hard to understand. The Midrash says that this Briach HaTichon, okay, was one long pole of wood. What do you mean? It has to go on one wall, then the back wall, and then the next wall. It curved by itself like a snake. It curved, and when they would pull it out, whenever they had to take apart the tabernacle and then rebuild it, when they would take out this long pole and it came out after being bent, it would again become long, and it was a super long. Okay, it's 20. If you take the calculation of the Mishkan, the whole left wing, the right wing, and the back, that's a long pole, and it's not pieces. It's one long pole going in all the way. Okay, that's one crazy thing. It said it was a miracle. This also was planted by Avram Avinu in Beersheba, the Midrash says. Okay, and more than this, and this is even harder to understand, they say that this wood, this Briach HaTichon, was made from the walking stick of Yaakov. When Yaakov fled Esav, running to Lavan, it says he b'makli avarti Yarden, he passed the Jordan River. Like the Midrash says, Rashi brings it down, that Yaakov put his stick in the Jordan River and it split and he crossed over to go to Aram, to go to the land of Lavan. Okay? So the question is, a small stick, Yaakov Avinu, he may have been a giant, but how big of a giant that he has a walking stick that's that long, that pole? So it's many questions to delve in this Midrash understood. But the point coming out is that Yaakov Avinu, the Midrash says, is associated with the Amudim. So that answers why Yaakov Avinu is so concerned more than any other part of the tabernacle to make sure that the cedar beams of the walls are prepared, because he himself represents the idea of the cedar beams. Okay? Now going back to our context, the doing of the mitzvot besimcha and having momentum was the simcha Yaakov expressed in having the beams prepared. So he went down fast. Even Yosef hinted to him, come down fast in order to prepare for the future tabernacle. Come down fast with the cedar beams, zrizut, mezorazim, fast. Because when the simcha, the mitzvah has momentum. So the mitzvah that Yaakov had in taking a part in preparation for the tabernacle, that's his doing his mitzvah besimcha with zrizut. So the zrizut is the mitzvah gaining momentum, okay? And then once the tabernacle was erected, what does the verse read? V'asita takashim lamishkan atzei shitim omdim. Okay, we said cedar wood, a type of wood called shitim, standing. And the pshat is why I say standing, as opposed to logs, which are pieces of wood which are laid on one on top of the other. These are one next to each other. Okay, but in our context, omdim means once a tabernacle has been erected, okay, and now this light, it's a beacon, the whole Mishkan, the Holy of Holies, the Ark, the menorah, the Shulchan, the Mizbeach, all of that was in order to bring down the infinite light, that the Keter can be a vehicle for the infinite light. But like we said, what's needed for the Keter is you have to wait. You have to be in pause mode. You have to stand. You have to wait. That's why the verse reads, Atzei shitim omdim. It's omdim meaning they were standing. That until that point, there was rizut. They were fast. Yaakov said, okay, let's do it fast, because the mitzvah has to have momentum. So he's quick to uproot the cedars from Beersheba, quick to plant them in Egypt, and his descendants were quick to uproot them and bring them for the redemption, the Exodus, and to have them eventually planted. So you have the two parts, and then that leads to the tabernacle, which is now stuck. Stay, wait, stand. So again, looking back in the Payat, the poem, it's just amazing, right? It says Tas Mata Mezorazim, the plantings of those who were quick. Tas flew, because it's such a simcha of a mitzvah, and that eventually became korot batenu azim. They became the fixed standing walls made of cedar for our batenu, for our house, which is the tabernacle. So this is a message in life, is that we do simcha with mitzvot, and afterwards we normally receive a smash, a bash back, and people wonder, what did I do wrong? I'm only trying to do good. The answer is no. This is how you come to the next level in life. How you perceive the infinite light, which is clarity and closest to Hashem. The reward, it's experienced by standing. So the amudim, the korah, the krashim, hakrashim, they were made with zrizut. There was a lot of speed and momentum in preparing them, and the goal to come standing. And once standing, that's how the infinite light shone within the tabernacle and also within each and every one of us. Shabbat Shalom.